Hello, and welcome to something just a little bit different. Today, I'm doing post-commentary. That's right. This is not me playing right now. You can't see this, but my hands are off the keyboard. Why? I've done this run before. I've tried this Civil War, playing as the fascist side. It is so incredibly difficult to do. And I didn't think I could do it while playing it live. I honestly didn't think I could do it while dealing with commentating, reading stuff, not focusing completely on the game. So I just had to not. So here I am, playing post-commentary. I'll be reading everything as I normally do, but you'll be seeing other things going on as I read stuff that's already happened, and I'll be reading stuff as I'm fighting this Civil War. So, while you're looking at what you're looking at right now, I'm going to read The Counting of Longswords, the opening page. The territories which nowadays compose the county of Longsword have served as the natural barrier between the Griffins and ponies for millennia. Coveted by conquerors from east to west, around 1 millennium before Luna's banishment, the region began to see its first inhabitants, river pony tribes moving in from the east and setting in Longsword, the ancestors of the Longsword ponies of today. The Longsword as a nation was shaped by its geographical position, its sparse population, and its history, having to defend themselves and their way of life against incursions from all sides. Longsword's ponies became naturally more warlike and stubborn than the ponies of the riverlands, whereas the forests and marshes of the region divided them into numerous desperate tribes, while they would occasionally unite against a common foe or join together in raids on foreign lands. They generally kept to themselves, holding on to a simple tribal communal way of life, even when all of their neighbors moved on to feudal kingdoms. In the following centuries, population pressures and ambitious tribal chiefs in Longsword would push the ponies to start mounting on raids to collect loot from surrounding kingdoms. The riverboats would reach as far as Ramau in the west and Ridgecorrad in the east. The Griffin estates were their primary target, however, and made Longsword ponies, and thus river ponies in general, into a bitter enemy of Griffins. To counter these raids, knightly orders tasked to defend the eastern frontiers began to form. The knightly orders of Helquill, order of brothers of the Griffin house of Prelate Olesius in Cloudberry, and Rosewood, the Brotherhood of the Rosewood Spear, are the most famous ones. Even before the Crusades, these orders waged a series of wars against the tribes in modern-day Longsword and Helquill, but they faced bitter resistance from the tribes, who used the forests and marshes to their advantage, winning down entire armies to nothing via attrition. In 787 ALB, after lunar banishment, the Longswordian ponies would begin to unite under the leadership of ambitious ruler Zamatukas. A worshipper of Verine, the goddess of the hunt, he subjugated the Longswordian tribes and founded the town of Verina, which he envisions as the religious center of Longsword, the Grand Duchy of Longsword. He founded was short-lived, however. In 812 ALB, only 25 years after, Emperor Grover II began his Grand Crusade towards the east, and Longsword was his first target. It was torched, conquered, and Zamatukas fell against Griffin Blade. His achievements were larger than life, however. It is thanks to him that the concept of United Longsword even exists. Longsword was granted to the House of Dusktalon after its conquest as reward for faithful service in the Crusades, and became an imperial march. As a condition, however, Western Longsword was granted the Rosewood Order, much like their brothers of the sword on the other side of the Griff King. Grover's second solution was to require the monarchy to share its powers with the Order and its institutions, in the form of an advisory council. This compact stayed, and the country prospered, though it was seen as a place for Griffin colonization. The Longswordian ponies received basic rights, and most of them remained in their tribes as tenant farmers, as long as they paid their taxes, of course. The colonization and pony presence would start to form a different culture as well, as so-called Ost-Griffin identity, which, while technically Griffonian, sees itself as something different regardless. Having already grown distant from the imperial heartland in the centuries prior, Longsword severed the last of its ties with the Griffin Helm during the Republican Revolution of 978 and abandoned its status as imperial march. Longsword's era of prosperity soon came to an end, however. The new Count of Longsword Palace took a step in the opposite direction after coming into contact with the Griffin supremacist organization known as the Reformisten, or the Black Cloaks. Pallas was converted to their creed and became a mindless follower of their ideas. He abolished the advisory legislation of the Rosewood Order and initiated the Longswordian genocide against the pony population, making two enemies at once and sending the country careening towards an inevitable civil war. And yeah, that's what's happening currently. So, how are you? Oh, I'm doing fine, Yeah. I am Count Pallas Dusktalon. I was born 24th of April, 958, in Swordson. I am Count of Longsword. The current head of the noble Dusktalon family, Pallas assumed the leadership not long after the county of Longsword declared independence from the Griffonian Empire. At first he was content to continue the proud Longswordian tradition, but everything changed when he came in contact with the growing group of knights who called themselves Reformisten. Their ideology and way of thought completely changed Pallas, and he set forth to implement their policies in Longsword, which culminated in the current bloodshed against the ponies. His single-minded zeal towards achieving purity in Longsword compensated for his lack of proper leadership qualities, resulting in a dangerous obsession for attaining his dreams at any cost. And currently we're in the Longswordian bloodbath. More formally known to outside observers as the Longswordian genocide, pish posh, this horrendous deed against ponykind and common decency is being carried out by the hated Count Pallas Dusktalon and his Reformistan allies. Thankfully, not everyone within Longsword is willing to simply allow the Count to go through with his plan, as both elements of the military and pony partisans have intensified their efforts at stopping the mad Count. Yes, we are all very annoyed. Not really, Adam. Oh my goodness, I can't believe he'd do this. Whatever, dude, I don't care. It's just a little genocide. Gosh. Right now I'm just looking at all the generals. I know you can't see that I am, but I'm looking at all the generals. Field Marshal Count Pallas Dusktalon. The current head of the noble Dusktalon family, Pallas assumed leadership not long after the County of Longsword declared independence from the Griffonian Empire. At first, he was content to continue the proud Longswordian tradition, but everything changed when he came to contact with the growing group of knights who called themselves the Reformisten. Their ideology and way of thought completely changed Pallas, and he set forth to implement their policies in Longsword, which culminated in the current bloodshed against the ponies. His single-minded zeal towards achieving purity in Longsword compensates for his lack of proper leadership qualities, resulting in a dangerous obsession for attaining his dream at any cost. At any cost. Alright. Any of you, advisors have anything to tell me? No, you're all boring. Okay. The plan continues. The pathetic ponies have breathed their last. We will not stop until the last pony is dead and buried. Glory to the Reformistan, our saviors. The plan continues. A crowd of about 400 griffins gathered in Swordson's central square in front of the Count's residence. Count Dusktalon, speaking from his balcony, was in the middle of giving a fiery speech. The ponies have brought nothing but ruin to Longsword. They refuse to accept their proper place. They refuse to acknowledge the supremacy of the Griffin race. We cannot realize our full potential with their kind around. They must be put to the sword. As the speech concluded, the riled-up Reforstein began screaming for death to all the ponies, and fired celebratory shots from their rifles to the sky. The dream of pure longsword would be fulfilled. We're word in Urson land red machine, which gives me 2 supremacy. Some of our generals are insufferably loyal to our cause. They will be replaced with more suitable griffins, who will perform their jobs without complaint. I don't care about the Coldstream Summit. Staffing the army. For the longest time, the military has been littered with spineless dirt griffins, or even worse, ponies. This cancer infests every level of the army, from top to bottom. If we're ever going to achieve our dream of a pure longsword, we're going to start with rooting out the filth from the most prestigious ranks of our beloved military, which will of course be pivotal to our dreams as well. We can't order the troops to eliminate those overgrown rats if one is leading them, or worse, a pure-blood Longswordian sympathizing with them. It'll be no issue swapping out these talentless fools with members of our own beloved organization. Reformston members are the purest of longsword. Obviously, we'd be the most fit to rule every office of the government. A pure future requires a purified military. This will weaken our military, but increases our popularity by 2%. Public executions. Clearly the traitors haven't learned the lesson yet. A public display of what happens to those who oppose us will cow them. Let the corpses hang for a while too, so that it is perfectly clear that it is meant to cross the count. Public executions. The army has been purged and we call the shots now. Literally. After a tenuous month is in waiting, the time has arrived for our brand new pure-minded longsword military to roll out into the open public and begin a social purification of our enemies. Communists, ponies, and any other brand of traitor. All will be purged, one way or the other. From the public hourly hanging in the capital to the numerous executions happening in the countryside, there are plenty of mass graves to be filled, and there's more than enough ammunition for such a task. There are no shortages of treacherous rats here, nor a shortage of Reformistan warriors. Our popularity goes up by 3%, we gain some stability, and just like, 5,500 people die? And our enemies are weakened. Honest accidents. A little over a month has passed since we began eliminating impure elements of the military. The process has been rather swell, with plenty of loyal pony officers being relieved of their station at the barrel of a gun. As expected, news of these dismissals has been suppressed, as we can't have the prey throwing a tantrum at us. We're taking our country back. It's our birthright. These oversized rats have no place here, after all. However, trouble in paradise has reared its ugly head, as regular patrols and even training exercises have ended in deadly accidents for our new officers. Be it a patrol ending with some vile bandits, or lone communists shooting an officer dead, or a mortar test fire going way off trajectory, and killing some key personnel. There have been some sketchy incidents happening. We don't know exactly what's going on, but it's a cause for concern. Accidents. 1,000 ponies die. We lose 50 political power. We lose 3 stability. We lose 15 command power. No big deal. The obstructive bureaucrats have been a thorn in our side since the beginning. They need to be swiftly replaced with our own griffins, who shall follow our letters to the T. Bureaucratic cleanup. Much like the army, the bureaucracy is littered with vile ponies and equine sympathizers, Longswordians. If not for the Reformistine, the entire population of the Longswordian government would be overrun with these traitors in the span of a decade. If we're going to undo the damage done, we'll need to work fast. There are plentiful of pure-bred griffins willing to serve the country in its best interest, and there are still plenty of traitors to replace. For a pure future, we'll need a pure government. With the traitors gone, we can finally run this nation properly. -5 communism, -3 non-aligned, +50 political power, +5 stability. We are a great nation. partisan reprisals. Well, we understand the strength of the resistance, and it seems they were waiting for this moment to strike out. Barely a week has passed since we began our social cleansing, and already there have been numerous organized retaliations across the more disloyal provinces of the country. Town squares being overrun outright, with any government worker or reform machine members getting shot, hanged, or worse. These partisan animals have struck hard in our moment of glory. We'll need to regroup and plan another string of executions, lest we lose control of this situation. The resistance is a very, very real threat. 750 ponies die, minus 25 political power, minus 2 stability. We'll deal with them. Bureaucratic collapse. Astonishingly, governmental efficiency has taken a complete downturn. Tax collectors are collecting for themselves and not the government. Governors are propping up ridiculous laws on a whim with no grounding in reality. The Foreign Relations Department is a complete collapse. Newly placed towns officials have directed government money into their own bank accounts, and if they haven't, they have not a clue as to what to do. Nearly every recently replaced position has been filled by a reform machine member that either has little experience for the job, ill intents for their duty, or both of those issues. Did nobody do a screening process for this? Minus 75 political power, collapsed bureaucracy. Minus 20% political power gain, plus 15% consumer goods cost, and minus 5 stability for 200 days. Oh yeah, well, we'll confiscate their property. Living or dead, the ponies don't deserve to own a single coin or a plot of land. For the good of Longsword, anything that can further our goals will be seized. Also, we have collapsed bureaucracy. Perhaps it wasn't the best idea to swap out the established bureaucracy with our own members. Yes, it was. How dare anyone say otherwise? A lesson to the disloyal. In order to properly create the pure Longswordian state, as we promised to our fellow Griffins, we must appropriate the now illegally owned pony businesses and property to be better handled by loyal Longswordian citizens. Of course, much of these lands and buildings will have to be operated by the government until a buyer is found. Ponies can never be trusted and have no business owning property or amassing any notable amount of wealth. Fortunately enough, we managed to bust a rising pony-dominant business district local to the city of Hersing, too. If not for our intervention, there's no telling how much worse that infection would have gotten. Now we can put these factories to good use. Plus 25 political power, 2% supremacy gain, and a civilian factory gained. Yeehaw! Mysterious disappearances. Things just went from bad to worse, as reports are now coming in from across the country of multiple key personnel going for any array of reasons. Apparent abandonment of station, tall tales of pursuing forbidden love, anti-partisan operations going wrong. The list goes on. There's far too many of these reports to even count off as genuine too. It's almost as if that's it, the military is compromised. Our previous month's purges were not enough to contain this cancer. There's no other solution than another round. There's another explanation for these numerous disappearances than to proclaim we have not been thorough enough. We must act quick. In fact, quickly is an understatement. We must act now. Minus 5 army experience, minus 800 pony power, minus 25 political power, minus 2 stability. Very good idea, I agree. As of this morning, merely 2 days after the seizure of Hersingen's Sunny Days Industrial District, a series of explosions went off. I don't care about Biccolini. The series, type, and area of damage were all too organized to have been some freak accident. The ensuing explosion proceeded to collapse the numerous levels of the factory before it ultimately fell in on itself from a lack of support pillars. Fortunately, only a lone safety inspector died, but there remains the question of how this happened. Some local loyal supporters reported the owner, Sunny Day, was staunchly anti-reformistine and had a history of explosives experience. If it's any Griff's guess, he set up a remote explosion to level his wrongly acquired property. Why didn't this come up when we were screening him and all the others earlier in the week? Someone find this rat and kill him! Looks like we didn't have any good replacements for investigators either. We gained 2 supremacy, we minus 50 political power, we minus 2 stability, and we removed the civilian factory that was just added. The ponies must be slaughtered, yes, but it would be more beneficial if we force them to work for us first. If we shall set up camps in Verina, have them work to the bone. Yes, that would be smart. Also, I don't care about the Emperor being dead. Good for him. The Verina Correctional Camp. The prisons are flooded with criminal ponies as of recent weeks. Our efforts to rid ourselves of their degeneracy have been so effective that we've simply run out of room to put them. Thankfully, a great-minded member of our midst has suggested the bright idea of putting the scum in work camps and making sure they're useful until death. Even better, we will open it near Verina. That way will no doubt break the sympathizers' stronghold in the city, and also eliminate logistical issues, considering many of the prisoners are from that damned city too. Smart thinking, every Griff. We're finally putting those oversized vermin to use. This will weaken the partisans. We gain 3 supremacy, plus 5 stability, minus 4,000 ponies. Despite our best efforts, we've been hit with a setback after setback. Our allies in Hellquill are not satisfied with the current events, but the Count will offer solutions to our woes. The flaws in our plan. There are none, obviously. This is a nightmare! It's an absolute nightmare! Count Dusktalon wailed as he sat at his desk, face in claws as he sobbed pitifully. His best-laid plans had backfired every step of the way. Every precaution was taken. The traitorous elements in the army were eliminated to begin with. He continued to rant and rave. His ever-trusted second-in-command, Rosa Heidenreich, stood idly by the door with her beak downcast, gaze averted from the pitiful state of her benefactor and leader. We massacred them by the thousands! By the thousands! Damn them all! Rosa's right claw tightened into a firm fist as this went on and on and on. The Count had always been her benefactor, and truly she appreciated it. But as time progressed, it was impossible to ignore just how awful of a leader Dusktalon really was. She agreed with his dreams, but his methods? Inefficient, unstable, and unadaptive. Maybe she'd be best fit for the role, but such traitorous thoughts were often eliminated from her mind. But she couldn't lie. It was beginning to become increasingly difficult to put such thoughts out of her mind, and they appeared near daily now. Suddenly, the Count's fist slammed down onto his table, hard enough to shake everything that's sitting upon it, his favorite snow globe falling off its edge. And onto the floor to shatter into pieces. He hadn't shed a tear over it, shockingly enough, as his mind was focused on larger things. Rally my staff! Rally the commanders! Rally all of them! The reforged machine will not stand for this reference, and for that we will strike back tenfold for every dent put into our plans! The Count bellowed loud and proud, enough to catch Rosa's distinct attention. Finally, Rosa, if you'll excuse me, I have to clean up here. Now go! Time is of the essence! She would have offered words of wisdom in how this wasn't the best response to these incidents, but she knew he was too set in his ways. Still, he was her superior, and as such, she had to continue following his orders. Unfortunately, of course, my account are curious. Preserve us. Minus 5 stability, minus 100 political power, plus 5 supremacy popularity. Yay! Verdammt! Despite our extensive suppression, the pony scum have started a massive revolt in the countryside and have taken control. They must be dealt with harshly. An unfortunate situation. Contrary to previous beliefs, the idea to open up a forced labor camp so near to a city chock full of anti-government supporters wasn't the best idea. Really? It didn't take long for the local partisan cells to gather up and launch an organized operation on our brand new camp, killing much of its guard and outright overrunning the area, before freeing all who were already interned there and recruiting any of them willing to join the growing resistance. What is wrong with these creeps? We've killed so many of them and they just seem to get angrier. Is anything ever going to break their will? What are we doing? Send in the troops. Now! Minus 500 pony power, minus 50 political power, minus 3 stability. Your actions backfired horribly. And now we got the Visigonis uprising. More disasters struck our righteous cause, as a horde of armed ponies rebels rose up in Visigonis during another round of public executions. We don't know where they're getting these weapons from, as there haven't been any raids on supply depots. Regardless, this situation must be addressed immediately, as the city has always been a prime breeding ground for the pony filth that infects our proud country. No doubt the resistance will attempt to recruit as many as it can into the ramshackle forces. Perhaps encircling the city and starving them out might work. Urban warfare has recently shown to be a very bloody business. Overgrown rats! Minus 2,500 political pony power, minus 50 political power. This will make the partisans stronger, and Longbow Griff becomes a demilitarized zone. Mutinous military. Our own knightly order mutinies against us. They've grown soft and refuse to participate in what they call a genocide. Don't they understand we're saving Longsword? The Zebrica mutiny. Bastard Silvertalon has struck. He and his army of pigs have seized Zaltals during a night assault in the hopes of breaking the back of our purist movement. Fortunately, we true Longswordians are tougher than these fakes, and pony filth believe us to be. Regardless of our tenacity, this is a terrible blow to our cause. Even prepared defense of Zaltals was not enough, as Silvertalon's forces were larger than we could ever expect. The Reform Machine forces have been stretched thin, and we're in very terrible position. There's no telling how much longer we can stave off a complete moral collapse in our troops. If the situation does not turn around soon, my count, what are the orders to put down these swine? This will make them stronger, minus 5,000 pony power, minus 50 political power. We lose... we lose a whole bunch of generals, and that place becomes a demilitarized zone. The fire rises. We're surrounded by traitors and rebels. It doesn't matter how much they oppose us. We shall make Longsword a pure nation, or die trying. A country in chaos. Count Dusktalon sat slumped in his office, head nested in claws. Outside, the sounds of rioting and battle spread, as the Reform Machine were trying to contain the rebels. He wasn't a weeping sort, but even he had to admit Boris seemingly turned his back on them. Where did everything go so wrong? His orders were clear, his subordinates were loyal and willing, and he brought purity to Longsword. Quickly, he remembered. Those damned ponies. They were the cause behind everything. The factories, Silvertalons, the armed shipments, his standings with Von Caterberg. Everything. Somehow their corrupting magic seeped into every aspect of his nation. Dusktalon reached for the drawer and took his reliable pistol. Did anything really matter as long as he had enough bullets for his enemies? His resolve restored, he called for Heidenreich to join him. Orders were given, and the Reform Machine will prevail, for each of them fights with Arturius by his side. Longsword shall be a pure nation. Worsened! Urshabagag! Of course. That makes perfect sense to me. And we start the Civil War. Longswordian Civil War. It seems the ponies of Longsword were rather unwilling to simply let the Griffins kill them all and have risen up in arms. United by their communist ideals, meanwhile officers in the army have organized their own resistance, intending to overthrow the bloodthirsty Count while also preventing the rebellious ponies from taking over the country. Purge the unclean! So the traitors have finally revealed themselves in the open. All the better. Now we can slaughter them easily. All in one decisive assault. Verschossen! I don't know how to pronounce any of like the Germany sounding ones, but you know, it's a thing. Call to arms. Every Griffin who is currently working a non-essential occupation will be drafted to our forces. The Reform Machine will prevail. Reform Machine fanatics. Murderers, thugs, fanatics, and zealots would normally not be considered for joining our regular forces, but times are hard, and we need every willing Griffin to beat back the ponies. Additionally, small number of volunteers have arrived from Hellquill to assist us. Levy every Griffin. It is regrettable that we must sacrifice our economy like this, but there can be no distinction between civilian and soldier when our existence is threatened. Rifle for every Griffin. Perhaps our enemies will hesitate to shoot civilians. Houses to factories. Private property will be seized in order to convert them to impromptu factories, so we can produce necessary goods for our war effort. Seize private workshops. Despite our efforts in mechanizing our production through longer work shifts and more workers, we still can't produce enough firearms for our troops. The solution lies, I don't care about you, Celestia, in demanding production for the state from the private manufactories and workshops. Supplies from Hellquill. We shall call upon our allies from Hellquill to provide us with the much-needed weaponry for our soldiers. Hopefully they'll loan us plenty. It is not enough. The harsh reality of war demands endless amounts of firearms. Send another envoy to Hellquill. Show them our desperate state. Yes, do so now. Despite our best attempts to increase production and procure supplies from Hellquill, we still lack weapons for our troops. We have no other option but to use swords and spears used by our heroic ancestors in defense of Longsword. The troops better show a little respect for the relics. And finally, see how our enemy flees before us. Each reform machine is worth at least 3 traders. Victory lies just beyond our reach. And that is all the focus trees that are going up to it. And as you can see, that has also led us almost to where we need to be. So, fairly good timing. And yeah. We will continue going until you get to see the end of the Civil War, which is just about to come up. But I'll go ahead and say it. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.